There have been many moments in the WWE where you've wondered, was it worth it? After all the hype, all the struggles, all the blood, sweat, and tears, was it worth it? A wrestler goes through many different struggles getting to the end of the road. It could be for a championship, or it could be maybe the end of a feud. It's all about the payoff. Everything that happens after this moment helps to either elevate or send a wrestler's momentum and all their hard work either crashing down or go all the way up. For some, though, there are payoffs that show after a few months or even years, it was all worth it. And today, we're going to take a look at some of the greatest payoffs in WCW, ECW, and WWE history. But mostly WWE. Let's do this. Greetings, everybody. I am Toon Critic, your cult of personality. Yeah, you pretty much know who's here by now. If you've been watching for as long, you know that there's
Greetings,
that guy.
everyone. I'm the cult of personality, and next to me are a bunch of jackasses.
I'm DJ Calcos, and I'm a big dumb goofy head.
I'm Nicky V, and I'm taller than both of you by about 3 inches and could crush you both because I have about 50 fucking pounds over both of you for some goddamn reason.
You giant nerd.
Oh, you know what? Calcos? We'll settle this. We'll settle this in WWE 2K15 once it actually gets past the loading screen. But we'll get to it. When
it actually fucking works, then you're going to eat it.
We're talking about the PC version specifically because none of us own a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. So the only way we could play it online together is the PC version, which is awful. And I'm not just talking about the game itself. I'm talking about technically speaking, as far as the tech and the engine and compatibility and optimization is bad.
The game itself isn't great either. I think one of you said that the NXT guys weren't even in it?
No. The NXT guys are in it in a DLC that is free on the PC, but it's not available yet.
Oh, well,
whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NXT guys are there. They're part of DLC. So yeah, all of that's going to be free on the PC eventually, although still no page. So yeah,
I like how they specifically mentioned, after all the reading, there's an asterisk, page not included. Really? Okay, well, not getting the game. Fuck it, page ain't in it.
Oh, what other reason would you have to buy the thing?
Anyway, greatest payoffs. Yeah, I think a payoff is one of the most important things that you can have for a wrestler because you can see them go through all this hell, and then when their big moment finally happens, you're going to have to see a little while later if it's worth it or not. You can look back to certain moments in wrestlers' careers where they had these big moments, and since then, it's either been really good or really fucking bad. Yeah, let's take a look at some of these awesome little payoffs. Oh, wait, I'm going first. I almost forgot.
You usually don't go first, so.
Pay attention to the script!
Wait, these are scripted?
Well,
Have you watched our podcast?
Nikki, you ruined everything! The secret is out now!
I'm breaking kayfabe super hard right now.
Anyway, I'll get this kicked off. All right. I'm going to take you folks back to WrestleMania 21, the very first Money in the Bank ladder match created by Mr. friggin' Y2J Chris Jericho. You had himself, Chris Benoit, I believe Christian, Kane, Edge. Oh god, who was the sixth person? I forget. Help me out here.
It's kind of irrelevant because the whole point is that it happened, it was cool, and Edge won it.
Yes, and Shelton Benjamin, right. Yes, Edge won the very first Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, at the time, nobody really knew, how the Money in the Bank thing would work. All we knew is that it guaranteed a title match between either the WWE Champion or the World Heavyweight Champion, which at the time was either Batista or Cena. Now, we thought, he can just make some kind of formal announcement and they're going to have it at that pay-per-view. No, because as we all know at New Year's Resolution, was it Resolution or Revolution?
Revolution.
Okay, at New Year's Revolution in December, we had an Elimination Chamber match with Cena and a bunch of other people. Cena won, but he was bloody and beaten, and all of a sudden Vince comes out, says that Edge is cashing in his Money in the Bank. We're just like, what the fuck is going on? Edge comes running down, spears Cena, bam, 1, 2, 3. Edge is suddenly the
It took 2 spears.
Okay, 2, because Cena. He took
Yeah.
2 spears. Bam, 1, 2, 3.
One spear is not enough to kill Super Cena. Hell, one elimination chamber match where he gets bloodied to all hell plus 1 spear is not enough to kill Super Cena. This was, I think that he had held on to the title ever since WrestleMania at that point. Like, he was in the middle of a hella run as the WWE champion. Did I just use hella unironically?
Yes.
Kill me now!
But at the time, though, we had never seen anything like this. Edge is suddenly the WWE champion. And since then, Edge went on to win, more than 10 world championships, whether it be World Heavyweight or WWE. He was the man until Cena beat him like a month later. But ever since then, Edge was chasing after the title, and he became a certified main event player. This moment has set the standard for Money in the Bank moments, because pretty much every Money in the Bank encounter, minus like 1 or 2, has had X wrestler running into the ring, cashing in when the other champion is down, and just stealing the championship. Edge made that possible. Edge at the time, who was just like, we never thought he'd be a main eventer. He was freaking Edge and Christian, the tag team guy, TLC, all this other stuff. We never thought he'd be a main event player. And in this one moment, the payoff was fucking incredible.
And what really helped it was that it was a very slow build. Like, he got it at WrestleMania 21, and he kept saying that he was going to cash it in at WrestleMania 22. He wanted to end up being the guy who main evented WrestleMania because of it. And I think a couple times he teased it, maybe I might cash it right here, but no, I won't cash it in. But then, it was 10 months later. I think he's still the longest reign of a Money in the Bank holder.
Really?
I think so. Either that or Seth Rollins barely topped it, but I know he held it for a freaking long time. And when he finally did cash it in, it was at the absolute perfect time to do it, because the champ was here, but he wasn't all there. He was freaking out. I don't think this can be understated enough. He barely got through that match, or in the elimination chamber, because in the match it was down to 3 people, and these 3 people are going to seem like really weird choices to be the final 3 in an elimination chamber, but it was Cena, Carlito, and Chris Masters. Yeah, I know, right?
Times have changed.
Carlito and Chris Masters in the main event of a pay-per-view?
What?
Sure, okay.
Are we in Bizarro World?
Now, that cash-in is so important because it set the precedent for what Money in the Bank was all about. When they said anytime, they meant it. Anytime. You're out on the street and you say, I'm up for a championship match. Just drop it on the floor, hope that a referee is around, and it will happen at any time. The next cash-in was with Rob Van Dam, which showed that the opposite is also true. If you want to plan ahead and cash it at a predetermined date, at a predetermined place, you can do that. And we're still learning about how the Money in the Bank case worked, because for the longest time, those 2 methods of cash-in were the only methods of cash-in. You either wait until the champ is hurt, or you do it ahead of time to prove your dominance. But then Seth Rollins cashes it in at WrestleMania, and we learn, after 9 years of having the thing be a thing, we learned that you can actually cash in the middle of a match. People don't think about that, but you can cash it in the middle of the match, making the entire rule set change in an instant. It's kind of incredible to me that we have a prop within a wrestling federation where you really don't know the true extent of the power that it gives a wrestler. And Edge's cashing in was a great payoff, not just because we learned the scope and scale of how important the Money in the Bank briefcase is, but because it was the start of a ton of great cash-ins. I'm looking at you, Dolph Ziggler.
Since Edge won in 2005, you have the likes of Rob Van Dam, Mr. Kennedy, CM Punk, Jack Swagger, Kane, The Miz, Daniel Bryan, Alberto Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler, fucking John Cena, Damian Sandow, Randy Orton, and of course Seth Rollins.
I want to see if one particularly nuts guy wins Money in the Bank, like Stardust or Ambrose or something like that. I want to see a WWE Network original show where the Money in the Bank holder is stalking the champion and like peeking out from behind bushes and shit, trying to keep an eye on the champion just in case something bad happens. All the while he's got a referee begrudgingly following him, and then he's just waiting until the right moment to like take him out at a fucking Denny's or something.
He's like, oh God, I got stomach pains from those like red, white, and blue pancakes. And you just see him go into the bathroom, and then you have like fucking Ambrose just run in, beat the shit out of him, drag him out, and then like pin him on the floor.
Tell me that would be the most hilarious thing ever.
It would be.
I can't wait for this year's Money in the Bank, because now, for the last several years, we've had two briefcases. We've had one for the WWE Championship and one for the World Heavyweight Championship. So, for the longest time, we've had two. And now we only have one. And 4 out of 5 times, the person that wins a Money in the Bank briefcase is always an upper-end mid-carder. The Money in the Bank briefcase has historically been very, very kind to the mid-card. And this is important right now because the mid-card, as good as it is in WWE, or at the very least competent, is very crowded. So if this Money in the Bank briefcase that comes up in July goes to a previously set main eventer, they might run into problems with overcrowding the mid-card. But given WWE's track record with the Money in the Bank briefcase, that is not likely. All right, almost every single person that has won the briefcase won it before they were set into the main event, and that briefcase put them in the main event. It is a trend that will continue.
But not only is the mid-card kind of crowded, the main event scene is not very crowded at all. I mean, you've got Rollins, Orton, Reigns, arguably Kane, and anybody want, or Cena, I guess?
Yeah,
although he's kind of down in the mid card now.
Yeah, Cena's probably going to go down to the mid card and stay there. They have no need for Cena to be in the main event anymore. They need to elevate their people. That's why they're putting Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins up there, because they want to elevate those two. So they need another contender for the main event scene. And you have several options. You've got someone like Dean Ambrose. You've got upsets like R-Truth and Bad News Barrett. You have people like Neville, for example, if they really want to push him that hard. You've got a lot of options there, so we'll have to see how the card works, and I'm pretty excited because, again, the Money in the Bank briefcase, despite all of WWE's shortcomings, is very consistent. Very consistent. And Edge set the precedent for everything, which is why it's on this list.
Yeah, the only person that the Money in the Bank really did not help out was the people who ended up not winning the title from it. Guys like Sandow or Mr. Kennedy. That kind of didn't work out for them. But yeah, all of the other guys, like, they went up another notch. Even people who are like, kind of like Kane. Like, when Kane won the world title, like, that was a legit fun world title, because at the time it was like, oh, Undertaker's in a vegetative state, I got to avenge the guy, and it's like, okay.
Or perhaps The Miz. If The Miz was able to take the championship, he fucking main evented, WrestleMania, but then he kind of just slumped. But hey, at least he's given at least he was he was able to come back from it. He was able to win some championships. He was able to have some pretty good feuds. He at least managed to stay relevant, and it was because of that Money in the Bank that he also was able to, get out of his slump or whatever.
Screw it. This payoff is just the Money in the Bank briefcase. Screw
Seriously?
it. It's just, we might as well be. We're talking about all of them. And honestly, the Money in the Bank briefcase itself as an item is a payoff. Because
you know what? Fuck it. Greatest WWE Money in the Bank payoffs. We're doing this. We're changing the script.
We were saving that for before Money in the Bank.
Whatever. We'll do the specifics later. Anyway,
Yeah.
Next up.
All right, so I'm up next. You know what we don't talk about very often on this show? Fucking EC-Dub. I talk about it a bunch, like shoehorn it into conversations, but I got one payoff that was possibly the slowest most deliberate burn in in any sort of wrestling promotion ever. I'm talking about Tommy Dreamer winning the ECW championship after like 4 or 5 years of trying to win that thing. And okay, so people kept leaving ECW, like the big guys at the top of the card. Taz left and Mike Awesome left, and a bunch of guys who were in the main event picture left. And Paul Heyman ended up in kind of a tough situation. So he ended up, I don't remember the exact specifics on it, but Tommy Dreamer ended up getting the ECW heavyweight championship from it. And like, he was in the ring on the verge of, in fact, not even on the verge of tears. He was legit crying in the middle of the ring. And this had been such a great buildup because Tommy Dreamer had been the perennial, like, ever since he first got over with the ECW crowd, he has been the heart and soul of ECW, the innovator of violence, the guy who everybody rooted for, but nobody thought was ever going to be the world champion because there were other guys. There was Taz and Awesome and Raven and a couple of other guys. Nobody ever thought the Dreamer was going to win it. And then he finally did. And then the crowd went absolutely bonkers. And it just shows that the ECW crowd is absolutely insane and loves just wrestling. And Tommy Dreamer was the personification of it. And just to kind of build that heat, he ended up losing the title later that night to Justin Credible and ended up putting fucking nuclear heat on Credible because, you know, that's our guy. That's the guy we wanted to win forever. And he loses it within like 30 minutes. And now Credible has just, like, everyone hated Credible after that. But for that one night, for 30 minutes, Tommy Dreamer was on top of the world in ECW, and it was unbelievable.
You have to understand the buildup of Tommy Dreamer's character as well. Tommy Dreamer was brought into ECW as a pompous heel. He was the guy who couldn't really wrestle, but always felt that he was better than everybody else because of lineage or looks or whatever. That's why his name is super fucking corny, Tommy Dreamer. That's why his name is Tommy Dreamer. So he gets his ass kicked every single show on ECW to satisfy the bloodlust of the ECW crowd. But over time, something strange happens. The crowd starts to sympathize with Tommy Dreamer. They start to say, okay, that I'm done watching this guy get beat up. This is ridiculous. Give him a do something. But no, they kept going and going and going and going and going and going and going. Never stops. Energizer batteries. Like that is the legacy of.
Except the drums were Dreamer's head, and it was just bong, 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 bong.
That was chair shots, Singapore canes, trash cans.
That it was the slowest burn ever, man. Like the fact that the crowd had such sympathy for a guy that they were supposed to hate. It was the plan all along. They wanted Tommy Dreamer to get sympathy and get over by getting the crap kicked out of him all the time. And it was expertly done. It's been tried many times before in many different promotions, but Tommy Dreamer and ECW were the best at it. And eventually he turned face, but even then he still didn't win the championship for another 3 years. People really had to be patient with this one. Like, you thought that Sami Zayn winning the NXT championship was a slow burn? No, that is small talk compared to the burn of Tommy Dreamer.
After 2 years, you would have thought, okay, maybe at some point he's going to win it. After 4 years or 5 years? No, he's going to be mid-card for life. He's going to be the guy. And here's the thing. They did this with Van Dam, too. They kept him in the mid-card. They kept him likable and in the mid-card and teased him for the title, but never pulled the trigger. They kept him with the television title for almost 2 years. And like they were going to make a huge match with Mike Awesome for Van Dam. And, well, he broke his ankle. But still, ECW had a tradition of like super slow burns for their fan favorites.
That's a
And
good thing, though.
yeah, that's a
They were
great
able
thing.
to keep people like interested in it still. The slow burns, I think, are necessary because it gives the wrestler like his character time to develop. You put him through all these different struggles. You put him through all these different matches and feuds and obstacles. And when he finally gets it, it's worth it. That's why when some of our favorite wrestlers like today finally get the championship, we're like, yes, fucking finally they get the championship. Now hopefully they don't screw this up. This comes with Seth Rollins is a good example. We bring up Seth Rollins again. He's a great example because he was working in local promotions. He made it to the WWE. He got into the Shield. He broke the Shield. He went with the Authority. You have this very slow build as he shows that he is a gifted and very talented wrestler, and he wins Money in the Bank. He gets the championship. That is worth it. Why haven't we put Seth Rollins on this list?
Because
Why
Seth
not? We
Rollins
just
is
talked
the
about him.
greatest, and it's a goddamn shame he's going to lose the championship to Roman Reigns.
Oh,
Yeah, give it time.
Roman Reigns is fine. His storytelling ability is good. His in-ring ability isn't awful.
He's getting better.
He sells very well. Again, the problem is the booking, but we'll get to that later. It's the fact that
Yes.
Roman Reigns is booked like a Superman, just like John Cena. But that's a topic for a future episode, because we're going to revisit it just like we do every single fucking month. Once a month. It's like goddamn clockwork.
it is.
Yeah. Although the build-up for this pay-per-view is only going to be 3 weeks long, so we're going to get to talk about it extra early this time.
By the way, everybody listening that doesn't know, the WWE is on crack. The month of May for the WWE Network is also free.
You've got to be shitting me!
Oh,
Would you
Okay.
stop making shit free?
You know why they're doing this?
Why?
The thing is that they're doing it because they have to, not because they want to jack up subscriber numbers.
Although that is a big reason.
No, it's not. It's actually because of the way the dates are structured. You have WrestleMania on March 29th. You had Extreme Rules April 26th. This means that if you subscribe to the network on the 27th, the 28th, or the 29th of March, you got both Extreme Rules and WrestleMania for the price of 1 month of the WWE Network. That's why they made April free. May is also free because, again, of the conflicting dates and the conflicting nature of the way the pay-per-views are scheduled. This is an oversight that they didn't see. So they are forced to make it free to keep people from getting the discount, so to say. This is why they need to change their billing. They need to bill people at the beginning of the month and charge people a discounted rate based on how far into the month they're subscribing.
Hey, WWE, you want to know how to fix this problem really easily? Have fewer fucking pay-per-views!
Yeah,
We're
but then
here, honestly.
but then people wouldn't subscribe to the network on months that don't have a pay-per-view. The biggest
Is
reason
it
why
any
people get the network is because of the pay-per-views.
Is it any different than having it go for months for free?
I don't know, man. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, next match. Calcos, this is your pick.
Okay, so WCW is not known for good payoffs. All right, if you think the WWE is bad at payoffs right now, I invite you to follow the 1.5-year burn of the NWO and Sting, and then watch Starrcade 1997. All right, if you want bad payoffs, that's where you go. But there was one payoff in WCW that I actually learned about this fairly recently. I didn't know it existed until a little while ago. Someone was talking to me about it. Actually, it was Kirk, my friend, the WCW guy. He was telling me about it. And I looked at this and I was like, this is so well done. Because it goes on for a while, but the attention to detail they put into this is nothing short of impressive. They did not leave a single thing not done with this angle. And it all caps off with a battle royale on Slamboree 1998, and it is simply called the Cyclope Battle Royal. This whole thing is ridiculous, but it's so well done that They need to do something like this again. They have to. So, Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho are feuding over the Cruiserweight Championship. And Malenko, through a variety of opponents, keeps losing and losing and losing and losing and losing and losing and losing over and over again. He's on a massive losing streak. And after losing another match on Nitro, he has a backstage promo with Gene Okerlund, and Mean Gene asks him about what he's going to do now that he's on this huge losing streak. How is he going to break it? Where are you going to go from here? And Dean Malenko replies with simply, home. He exits the promo and disappears. He doesn't appear on WCW programming. He doesn't appear in any of the signatures or the promos or anything like that. He's gone. Like, done. Now, 2 months later, Chris Jericho decides to hold a Cruiserweight 10-man Battle Royale at Slamboree 1998, to determine who will face him for the Cruiserweight Championship, and that match was to be held directly after the Battle Royal. So Chris Jericho, in his usual crybaby heel sense, comes out with a list of all the wrestlers and introduces them one at a time as they come out, and mispronounces their names and gets them all wrong and shit, as he usually does, because it's hilarious. Now, when you go through the roster, if you're familiar with WCW, you're gonna know 9 out of the 10 wrestlers that are introduced. You have people like Juventud Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, Ciclope, people like crap, I can't remember the exact roster of the whole thing, but you're gonna
Psychosis was in there.
Yeah, Jushin, or the
Jushin
dragon
Liger?
Jushin Liger.
Jushin Liger, and all of those guys. You're gonna recognize all of them, but there's one competitor who you're not going to recognize, because this was the only time that he had appeared on WCW programming. He hadn't appeared before then. He was a blue-masked wrestler in blue tights named El Grillo. People that were familiar with the Dean Malenko angle looked at that and said, oh, that's Dean Malenko looking for revenge. He has a similar build, similar height. That is Dean Malenko. Well, turns out that in the middle of the Battle Royale, El Grillo gets eliminated. So all of the hopes of that happening are completely dashed. And the hype from the crowd instantly deflates until the final 2 with Ciclope and Juventud Guerrero. Those 2 competitors are standing in the ring, and they do the typical Battle Royale stare-off for a long time.
Like an uncomfortably long time.
To the point where it does get a little uncomfortable. And then Juventud kind of cocks his head a little bit and takes a good look at Ciclope. Then Juventud, them being both faces at the time, Juventud and Ciclope hold out their hands, they handshake, and then Juventud does something very unprecedented. He eliminates himself. He jumps over the top rope, lands on the floor, is eliminated. Ciclope wins the Battle Royale. Ciclope bends over, unmasks. Oh my god! It's Dean Malenko! He's come back to WCW to enact revenge on Chris Jericho! Oh my fucking god! There's cum all over the announcer's desk! Ah!
I don't think Tony Giovanni said any of that.
So Chris Jericho had already made his way to the ring, was still wearing the belt, has this look of unbelievable shock on his face, and they start the match immediately because Dean Malenko had went to go attack Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho still has the Cruiserweight belt on him, mind you, and Dean Malenko goes fucking nuts. But then Chris Jericho starts to make a comeback, and the match goes on for 10 minutes, but then Dean Malenko applies the Texas Cloverleaf, tap, 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 he wins the Cruiserweight Championship.
And here's the thing. Malenko is usually known as he's the Iceman. He's the guy who doesn't show all that much emotion in the ring. He showed some fucking emotions in that ring that night. He went nuts on Jericho. He absolutely kicked the shit out of him.
It's the attention to detail. It is the attention to detail that makes this payoff so grand. It's the fact that they had the foresight to add in a hidden, never-before-seen wrestler that everybody could point to and go, that's Dean Malenko, and then have him eliminated halfway through the Battle Royale to get everybody's hopes down. That is good thinking. That is an angle that whoever wrote it was very passionate about it and wanted to leave he didn't want to leave any stones unturned. He wanted to get it perfect. I haven't seen booking that good in a long, long time. Very well booked, very well thought out, and it makes me kind of sad that I couldn't watch WCW at that point. Because if I did, I wouldn't have missed shit like that. I would have been able to see it with my own eyes while it was unfolding, and I would have really been able to appreciate just how good it was. It's one of my favorite payoffs of all time, even though I only learned about it recently. It's just the craftsmanship when it comes to writing the narrative is impeccable, and I implore you to go find the Cyclope Battle Royale. It's Slamboree 1998. You can find it on the network or somewhere else if you so choose. You gotta listen to the commentators sell the fuck out of the whole thing. You gotta listen to the crowd. You gotta see the expressions on everybody's faces. Man, that was such a good time.
You know, after this podcast, I'm actually gonna go watch it. I felt bad because I should have looked this up, but I figured I'd just let Calcos and Nikki go back and forth with it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, WCW got a lot of things wrong, but one of the things that they usually did right was they handled their cruiserweight division pretty damn well. Like, the rise of guys like Jericho, Guerrero, Juventud, Benoit, all kinds of cruiserweights that came up through WCW usually ended up doing pretty damn good for themselves, at least in other promotions. Like, they built them up in WCW like a freaking champ. So,
yeah. My knowledge of WCW is pretty limited, but what it is limited to is a lot of the cruiserweight stuff, a lot of the stuff with Eddie and Jericho and Ray and Malenko, all that other stuff. WCW was, I thought, really silly, and I didn't really bother with much of it. And I know a little bit about it through the Monday Night Wars and through some documentaries that I've seen.
Cyclope, hell of a way to get the Cruiserweight Championship to Dean Malenko, who really, really deserved to win it.
I have a question, though. Did Malenko ever get, like, another feud like this or another story like this?
I can't think of one.
Not off the top of my head. Like his biggest rivalries were like with Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho.
What about Mysterio?
I think he did a pretty good one with Mysterio. I'll be honest, my knowledge on WCW is a little bit limited as well. Like, not as, like, I know a little bit, but not a whole bunch. But like, Malenko had some good rivalries, but it really never culminated in anything that went past the Cruiserweight title. But for where they had him, he held down that part of the roster pretty damn well.
All right, next up, back to me. All right, geez, I seem to really float around the 2004 to 2000, like, onwards era. Again, this is where most of my knowledge is, and most of what I lived through pretty much shows up. Yeah, WrestleMania 20. Very first WrestleMania that I ever got to see. Now, when I picked this payoff, I know it's something that wrestling fans don't really talk about, and it's something that, you know, it's a little controversial to talk about given the events, you know, that happened later. But I want to talk about the main event of WrestleMania 20. Triple H defending the World Heavyweight Championship against longtime rival Shawn Michaels and the winner of the 2004 Royal Rumble,
the third
Chris Benoit. The
third man.
Come on. I think it's okay for us to talk about Chris Benoit on this podcast. We can acknowledge that, you know, what happened, it's, well...
The later stuff is fucked up, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the good wrestling shit. Like, we're here to talk about when he was the Wolverine.
We're here to talk about when Chris Benoit defied all the odds and won the World Heavyweight Championship from Triple H, a bloody Triple H, making him tap out.
Well, I have to ask about the whole odds thing, because with Chris Benoit, there were no odds against him or for him. In fact, he was entirely irrelevant to the match.
But yet he still won.
That's the payoff. You cannot say that he overcame the odds, because the whole plot line leading up was really never about him. It was all about Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, and Triple H just completely ignored Chris Benoit because he's a tiny little Canadian dude with a lost tooth in the middle of his mouth, and
Toothless aggression.
His entire focus was on beating Shawn Michaels once and for all. And Shawn Michaels was like, you do have to worry about him. He is a competitor in the match. And Triple H was like, no, I don't. This is about you and me. He does not deserve a title shot. Never mind the fact that he won the Royal Rumble from the number 1 position, being one of 2 people to do so.
That's what I meant by the odds.
Yeah. The odds, when it comes to this match, though, are completely irrelevant. When it comes to the Royal Rumble, of course, winning from the number 1 position is defying the odds. But when it comes to this match, Chris Benoit was so irrelevant that it was easy to forget that he was in the fucking thing in the first place. That's why him winning the championship was so cool, because you didn't give a shit about Triple H or Shawn Michaels. You didn't care about that. You wanted to see the guy that had never gone up to those lengths before. The guy who had fucking won the Royal Rumble from the number 1 position. You wanted to see him win the goddamn thing. And to see him pushed to the side was really aggravating, because you thought that he was just going to get eliminated from the match a minute in due to injury. But that didn't happen. That's why it's so satisfying.
The match itself was very well put together as well. I love triple threat matches. I love seeing how each of the wrestlers kind of, fends off with one another. And you're right, Benoit was just kind of like the third wheel in all of that. It was Triple H and Shawn Michaels beating the shit out of each other. But Benoit comes in every now and then. It's just like, hey, guess what? I'm in this match too. Bam, bam, bam. And when he gets double suplexed through the announcer's table 3/4 of the way through the match and he's out, you have to wonder, okay, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Triple H? Is it going to be Shawn Michaels? No! Holy shit! Chris Benoit comes back. It looks like he was just thrown back into it from the camera angle. And Benoit gets rid of Shawn Michaels, puts Triple H in the crossface, and makes him tap. And the payoff for this, when Benoit came to the WWE, he was, at the time, one of the best technical wrestlers, along with Malenko and Eddie, and they were stuck in the mid-card for a while. When Benoit finally won the Rumble and he got himself into the main event, a lot of people were behind him. And to see him as a mid-carder who had won the Intercontinental, I don't think Cruiserweight, but a bunch of other WCW and ECW titles and whatnot, he ascended to probably the highest point in his entire career. And it's accentuated by right after, when you got confetti coming down, Benoit turns around, you have Eddie in the ring, you have them sharing a moment, just a hug, and them holding the titles. That's a picture that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes for the payoff that Benoit had. It speaks volumes for the payoff that Eddie had.
And it was really cool because it was because Guerrero won earlier in that night. He won the WWE title.
He retained it.
He retained it. Who did he retain it against?
Kurt Angle.
Let me put it to you like this. Guerrero and Benoit winning was basically the WWE acknowledging that the WCW guys were worthy to come up to the WWE's level, because you had 2 WCW alum, Guerrero and Benoit, beating 2 established WWE lifers.
Three
WWE lifers in Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Kurt Angle.
It was not just WCW, but ECW as well.
Oh yeah, and ECW as well. It was them acknowledging that they were worthy of being in the same league as the H's and the Michaels and the Angles and all of those other guys who were mainstays in the WWE. And it kind of made it feel like the WWE had moved on from the WCW angle. Clearly not, but still, it felt like it was a big moment, especially. You get that iconic shot of Guerrero and Benoit hugging in the middle of the ring with the titles, and it was a great moment.
If you can sum up WrestleMania 20, it's with that picture, pretty much, with the two of them, titles held high, confetti. It's beautiful. Anyway, next match.
So Mick Foley is one of these guys who, he doesn't fit the WWE mold. He's a pudgy guy. He's not the most physically gifted guy to ever grace the WWE. And he's a guy that, even by his own admission, has said that he never saw himself as the A-list guy in the WWE. He always saw himself, and the WWE saw him as kind of a mid-tier guy, somebody who could maybe win tag team or, I don't know, some mid-card stuff. But in early 1999, he gets a world title shot against the corporate champion, The Rock.
Now, The Rock and Mankind have had like their share of epic fights, whether it's like for the title, without the title, all sorts of crazy shit.
But they get locked up in a match, Rock and Mankind, and it's a pretty brutal match. And they go back and forth. And Rock's got all these enforcers in his corner. He's got Vince and Shane, and I think Arn Anderson was in there too. Ooh, like there was Arn Anderson was a WCW guy.
Ken Shamrock.
Shamrock,
Yeah.
that was the guy.
And Mankind has DX on his side.
They're going after each other, and then all of a sudden, once both guys are laid out, glass break.
Oh, that pop is still the loudest pop I've ever heard.
Yeah, WWE constantly acknowledges it as the biggest pop they've ever heard. I think Mankind does. I think Stone Cold does. Basically, everyone does. If you don't acknowledge it as the loudest pop in the world, then you don't know what a pop-off is. Or you've never seen the video. Or you're just plain stupid. I get that those words that I said were an opinion, but it's not an opinion.
It's not. It is super not an opinion. It is stated fact. You could go there with a decibel reading system and find out how loud that shit was. It was fucking loud.
The only other pop-off I can think of that was louder than that isn't wrestling related. It was at EVO 2004 with Justin Wong and Daigo.
Stop being such a fucking nerd.
Dude, that was the greatest moment in competitive video game history, and I dare you to say otherwise.
Well, I can't argue with that because I don't watch professional video game playing.
Professional video gaming, something in there's an oxymoron. Anyway.
Oh boy, you just pissed off every single League of Legends player ever.
Oh, come at us. Oh, no.
Come at me, 1 versus 1. I don't fucking
powerhouses.
care.
1v1 League, that's broken as fuck. Hey,
Back on
Tryndamere. Or whatever the top tier character is now. They change it every 2 weeks. Anyway, yes. The Mankind winning the championship was another Tommy Dreamer situation. Although the burn wasn't as long, it was painful because Mankind was always so close to that championship. He could
Wait a minute. Didn't he win the championship like before then? Because I'm pretty sure he won it like in a triple
It wasn't
threat
a
match.
definitive win. It was stolen by The Rock.
Yeah, this one, he won decisively with the help of Stone Cold. And afterwards, he got DX to carry him out of the ring and just announce him as the new WWE champion. And it was a hell of a moment. And what definitely helps out a whole bunch is the announcing by one Billy Gunn, or no, Road Dogg. It was Road Dogg who announced Mankind as the new WWE champion. And Road Dogg is like one of the top 5 talkers among wrestlers in WWE history. That might seem like a little high, but he was fucking good at it. He was really good. He was the Enzo Amore of his time.
Oh, I can't wait till they get called up.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
It's one of the only. Enzo and Cass, I think, are the only 2 NXT alumni where I am positively stoked to see them come up on Raw because their gimmick is not wrestling. All right, who gives a shit if you think they're bad in the ring? That's not what they're all about. They're all about getting on the stick, saying catchphrases, and having the crowd chant them along. It is a very simple gimmick. It is a very straightforward gimmick, and just let them script their own promos.
Yeah, they're the new age outlaws of the modern era. It's a super easy comparison to make.
All right, everybody, along with me, even you guys at home, SAWFT!
I feel bad because I don't know who you guys are talking about.
Oh, you fucking uncultured swine!
I need to watch NXT
dickhole
more.
son of a bitch!
I need to watch NXT more. I haven't actually really watched an
Yeah, but you
NXT
don't
special
know who
since.
fucking Enzo
Yes,
is?
but I don't watch NXT that much either, to be completely honest. I keep forgetting about it because Lucha Underground is always on my mind. And not to mention all of the Wii U games I picked up recently. But Enzo and Cass, man, they are the future of the promo givers. Like, when they get called up, if they get freedom, they will take over the world.
And apparently Triple H likes him because, like, that's how Enzo got in. Like, somebody sent his tape to Triple H himself, and he got in because of that. So the higher-ups like him.
Speaking of tapes, real quick, the whole, can we just briefly talk about the Tough Enough thing?
I
am
can't really talk about it because I haven't seen shit from it.
No, what they're doing with Tough Enough this time is that they're actually having people send in videos of themselves. It's not like, oh, we're not going to look for a professional wrestler. We're going to look for somebody who has the look, who's tough enough. I'm thinking this is going to fucking bomb so hard.
You want to know how to make this a guaranteed success? They need to accept Nathan Barnett's tape.
Who is Nathan Barnett?
Nathan Barnett was known about 10 years ago for creating a Neo Geo fanatic, really clumsy, nerdy gamer named Keith Apicary. The Keith Apicary character is a guy that gives...
talking about.
Yes, he gives no fucks. He's a huge fan of the Neo Geo, and Nathan Barnett is a great stuntman. He'll fall off staircases, he'll fling himself 10 feet in the air. He's also a very good dancer, and despite his lanky figure, is a good athlete. He's also been training in wrestling and has endorsements from Rikishi and Dolph Ziggler. And this is known because of the tape he submitted for Tough Enough. If they want success for Tough Enough, they will put this guy on the show and they will sign him because he will get over. I don't know the exact scope of success that he'll have on Monday Night Raw. I don't even know if the guy wants the contract and just wants to do this because he can. All I know is, if this is something he truly wants to aspire to do, they gotta sign this motherfucker. Anyway, next match.
This is Calcos' match. Funny enough, we started with Edge at WrestleMania 21, and coincidentally, we're starting at the same pay-per-view.
Well, we're starting a little bit beforehand. What happened was, Randy Orton wins the title from Chris Benoit. Triple H gets upset and kicks the shit out of Randy Orton with the help of Batista. Triple H takes the title from Orton and then holds it for a little while. I think he may have lost it sometime in between, I don't know. But it's around this time that someone wins the 2005 Royal Rumble. That someone happens to be Triple H's lapdog, Batista. Batista starts to grow a brain cell or two and starts to figure out that if someone that's allied with him could possibly get to the World Championship, even if Triple H doesn't have it, Triple H gets paranoid. So Batista waits after winning the Royal Rumble shot. He waits and waits. And then on an episode of Monday Night Raw, he is offered contracts to Raw and SmackDown. Triple H wants him to go to SmackDown so that way he can fight for the WWE Championship and take it from JBL. That honor, of course, goes to John Cena. Why? Batista puts up one thumb. Triple H and Ric Flair are like, yeah, he's going to Smack. No, he turns it the other way around.
Oh,
and
shit.
The Batista face turn is complete.
The oh shit look on Ric Flair's face was the greatest oh shit face I have ever seen. You saw fear in his eyes. He was just, oh no.
One of the top 10 face turns ever.
Calcos, that reminds me, you showed me like the fucking Batista joins Optic video or whatever. That sums this up perfectly. That makes this moment much more hilarious in my head when I see it.
I'll put that video in the description of this cast, of this YouTube video, because if you don't mind purposefully shitty ending, okay, if you like montage parodies, you will like this video. But this face turn is so great because we were all so fucking tired of Evolution. We were all so fucking tired of Triple H. And Triple H kept getting the jump on everybody, so it was super refreshing to see somebody get the jump on Triple H. Because Batista was the unstoppable monster heel at the time, right next to Brock Lesnar, who had left the year prior. And Batista lowers his thumb, and the cycle is complete. Batista is now going to fight Triple H at WrestleMania 21 for the World Heavyweight Championship and usher in a new era of wrestlers. And it's a beautiful, beautiful face turn. Well executed. The burn wasn't super long. It was just long enough to let it sink in. And it is one of the best face turns of all time. It's easy to get. It's easy to understand. You don't need to follow about a gajillion years of episodes of Monday Night Raw and pay-per-views and WrestleManias to get. You just know that Triple H is an asshole. Batista found his moment. He fucking took it. And then powerbombed Triple H through a table and made Ric Flair show his age.
Even if you don't know anything about this whole the Evolution build-up or any of that, you could just watch that one segment of him choosing between the Raw and SmackDown contract, and you'll basically have this whole thing summed up in a nutshell, because it was a very compact segment. It lasted 15 minutes, but a lot of stuff happened. And Triple H actually had a pretty good monologue about how about how Triple H could hold the World Heavyweight title and Batista could hold the WWE title and just rule the WWE from that and be on top. And Evolution would be kings of everything. And then
join me and together we shall rule the galaxy. There's a fucking Star Wars moment there. I really love how this turned off. The payoff was a great trilogy of back-to-back pay-per-view matches with Batista and Triple H. You have WrestleMania 21, you have Backlash, and then you have one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches ever, between Batista and Triple H. And it's really amazing because after that, Batista fucking soars until he gets injured.
Keep in mind, though, that when Toon says trilogy of matches, he's not talking about the constant rematches that they have on WWE right now, because if two wrestlers have a lot of chemistry, put them in matches over and over and over again, as long as it's certain that one of those wrestlers isn't going to get buried. And this is one of those cases, because neither Batista nor Triple H was buried, because Triple H could take the loss, and Batista's win just made everything that much sweeter. A good case of this is CM Punk versus Cena. I could have watched them match after match after match at pay-per-views, and I would have never gotten bored. So yeah, that's what he means. Just in case there's any commenters that say, "Oh, but the Haymakers, you keep saying that constant rematches are a blight on the WWE booking roster."
Not in this case.
Who
Back
says it
then,
like that?
I don't know. I don't know if we have anybody like that. No, but back then, when it came to how they structured their feuds, match to match, you can dissect a feud and look at the matches that made it worthwhile. And they really didn't overdo it. Batista and Triple H's big trilogy, that's what I think helped define their feud. And then Batista went on to do other stuff. They didn't constantly have, Triple H waiting to screw Batista over or something. You had those three matches, and then Batista moves on. Now you look at today, let's use Roman Reigns for example, constantly having him face Big Show. It's Roman Reigns versus Big Show, 389, last man standing match. You don't give a shit. If you're careful with the pacing and the timing and the booking, and how the feud plays out, and you learn to not overdo it. You have a beautiful trilogy, One Last Chance, Hell in a Cell. That's how you fucking do it. That's what makes Batista versus Triple H one of the best feuds in WWE history. And it's also what makes the payoff for Batista that much better. He has Triple H as that springboard. Because then, fucking later on, he goes up against The Undertaker. And that has another great series of matches. It's just, from then on, Batista goes as high as he fucking can. And right now, he's doing movies. He's done Guardians of the Galaxy. He's going to do Spectre. He's got a lot going for him. So the payoff of him winning at WrestleMania 21 also happens to coincide with John Cena's payoff and also Edge's payoff. You know, all three of those guys got beautiful payoffs. And it's funny to see how, like, one pay-per-view, we can talk about one specific pay-per-view, has the ability to, like, rocket up certain people, giving them, you know, the chances to usher in a new era, to finally show, like, what they're worth on the main stage. It's just amazing. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Thank you guys for joining us. This is actually really fun to do.
You're only figuring that out after 6 months of doing this?
What were you going through for the first 6 months before? Were you just kind of showing up and going through the motions? Just like, oh, these fuckers again. Ugh.
No, I lost my smile. I'm just doing this for... No, I'm just... Give me my paycheck, Vince. I've got a job.
Wait, you're getting a paycheck for this? What the fuck?
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm totally getting a paycheck. I get like $500 a month. Fuck you guys.
Oh, you know what? For those of you still listening, I just want to ask, would you guys mind if we set up a Patreon? Because the thing is that Zach, Nikki, and I, specifically me, do a lot of work on these podcasts to make sure it's the best it can possibly be, along with Bobby, the guy who makes all of the graphics for our predictions video. We do a lot of work on these things.
Shout out to Bobby!
Woo! So I would love it if you guys were willing to spare us a few extra bucks that we could pass around and buy beer with. So if you guys are in support of us forming a Patreon for this podcast, please say so in the comments. I'll make one. I'll set the donation rates at something fair. I'll discuss with these guys what the benefits will be. And yeah, we'll take off. But if you guys don't want us to set up a Patreon, we won't. You're the customer, so... and you're going to be paying us, so make sure you sound off. Let us know whether you want us to put up a Patreon so you guys can donate.
I want to also make something clear is that even if we weren't getting paid, we're still doing this for you know, fun. We love wrestling. We love talking about wrestling. We love getting together and just talking about it. And yeah, we would pretty much do it for free. If you want to, like, you know, throw a few bucks at us or want to throw support at us, you know what? That's groovy. We're not going to enforce it. We're not going to beg for it. We're doing this just for fun. If you want to help support us like that, go right the fuck ahead.
And for a $20 donation, you too can put Toon Critic through a table.
Yeah. When the fuck was this established?
Right now, it's happening.
I'm making an executive decision.